Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. I am Abe with MysticGenMara.com, a small town mystic from the middle of Idaho. And tonight I would like to introduce you to a, in a lot of metaphysical worlds, a newer angel, but this angel actually has an exceptionally long history. But even with that, there's not as much known about him as you would think for being referenced as far back as he is. And that is God's secret angel, Angel Raziel. And when I say secret angel, the most common translation of his name is the secret of God. So, that's why he was referenced that way. In most of the occult literature, they reference him in association with the planet Uranus, and interestingly enough, it should be with Saturn, considering the day he's referenced is Saturday, but it's actually Uranus. And there is some theory, some thought, that all of the outer planets beyond Saturn tend to be associated, with one or two exceptions, with Saturday. You don't have to. Being the fact that he's planet Uranus, you can kind of work with him any day of the week. The element, though, which is very specific, is air, and the colors generally associated with Raziel are gray and dark green, and the dark green, from what I was reading, it always is referencing the green of twilight. Like, it's that super deep green where you almost can't tell if it's black or green. That's the shades that he tends to be associated with. If you are a crystal person like myself, anything gray, including granite, which I thought was weird, but he is a very strong, stable angel, so I guess that would work. They also say that you can use fossils because he is a record keeper in a fashion. Not fully, but that is one of his aspects. But you can also use smoky quartz, green stones in particular. They say green opal, which is a interesting colored stone, peridot, sardonyx, and green tourmaline. So really deep greens, except for peridot, which tends to be bright, and everything else tends to be pretty bland grayish colors. Going with all of that, the metal that tends to be associated with him, if you choose to have like an altar established for this angel for a purpose, would be a lead, kind of a bland, very soft metal, but okay. You can also use, if you're anointing candles or things like that, you can use the scent of ambergris or ambergris. Full disclosure that it does come from an animal, so that may not be something, if you're sensitive to that, don't use that. You can also use cedar or myrrh as your alternatives. The chakra, and I thought this was interesting that this angel, and as we go through here, it'll start to make a little bit more sense, but he's associated with the third eye chakra, and it's generally referenced as the front third eye, not the back, so it's more focused knowledge, not secret knowledge, and I thought that was kind of interesting. Angel Raziel is known as the Angel of Mystery and Secrets. He has access to deep and unconscious wisdom, so if you're trying to understand something about yourself, he's a good one to call on for that. This deep knowledge reveals all earthly and heavenly knowledge. So, if you have wandered into the Akashic Records, or you're doing some deep shadow work and you're trying to understand some of these images and dream interpretations, another big one, he's a good angel to call on because that's kind of his thing. The more mysterious, the more unknown, the more his time to shine type thing. He also has been called, see if I can say this right, Gallister, which is the Angel of Secrets and Mysteries. Not a common name for him, but it is another reference for him. The name Gallister can also mean the keeper of all magic, or the revealer of the rock. And the revealer of the rock one was an odd one, and I couldn't find a clear reason for that. But the Keeper of All Magic actually does apply to Raziel as well as Gallister, and the more you learn about Raziel, you'll start to understand that too. Excuse me. Have a bad case of those tonight. When Raziel comes to you in a physical appearance, because not everybody sees the physical, he usually is in robes of gray or deep green, and they accent the other. So if it's gray, you'll have like a green belt. If it's green, you'll have the gray accents. These robes flow around him like an aura of mysterious power. It's not just the standard proper robes. It's almost like there's a cloud. His robes cloak him, but they're kind of free-flowing. If you watch certain kinds of horror, you'll see like the monster usually has this robe clothing thing that's like moving like it's alive. That's kind of how it appears with Raziel. It symbolizes his power over the deeper wisdom because he's cloaked in mystery as well. His aura's energy is similar in color, wispy grays, hazy greens. So if you're the type of person who only sees an angel's energy, some angels have completely opposite energy to their physical form's coloration. Not so much with him. So however he shows up, it's generally going to be that kind of gray, wavy, wispy smoke almost, or it's going to be that hazy green, almost like a smoke bomb at the end when it kind of still spewing green, but it starts to turn a little bit grayish. It's those kind of shades. And this angel does not radiate light or brilliance, which I thought was interesting. Most of them have some kind of glow to them, whether it's a light glow, a dark glow, they glow. Not Raziel. Instead, he likes the more creepy haze that seeps into the area that he's called in. So he might be there already, but you're not going to be aware of him. It's kind of like that cool breeze that wafts through a room where you're like, wait, who's here? And it's that kind of energy. So if you're working with him, be aware that he's not going to show up like some of the other ones would. He tends to be very mysterious. And I checked in to try to get a little bit more information from him, and he he finds it amusing to show up a little bit creepy. He's not there to scare you or terrify you, but definitely wants to be a bit more unique in how he shows up, which I have to appreciate. Raziel, and I'll show you a couple of the tarot associations with him. The Angel Tarot, which is one of my pretty commonly used decks, at least for me, it has him on two different cards in the Major Arcana. One is the Magician, Master of Magic and Secrets, and the other one is the Hermit, pulling away study and mysterious knowledge. So when you really think about it, though, the core of these two cards, the Hermit and the Magician, really do fit Archangel Raziel for what he stands for, because it's very mysterious, but it's also about magic, it's about power, it's knowledge over the elements. Mastery to a point, but still more knowledge yet to gain type thing. Except for in his case, he has access to all of it anyway. So, Raziel is kind of all over the place in the choirs. Of course, being his mysterious self, he's not going to lock himself into one. Some say he is part of the cherubim, which is okay. Others say he's part of the Ophanim, which is the wheeled beings in the book of Ezekiel. The wheels within the wheels with eyes all around that move to and fro seemingly without guidance. And that's one of those angels. He also is associated with the Erelim, which is a local protector class of angels, so it'd be a location that he would be specifically tied to. For me personally, that one is the one that is the least resonance. Cherubim, Ophanium, those ones I can picture. I can put him in those positions, like the resonance is there. The Erelim, not so much. And that's not to say he isn't one, it's just that doesn't, for me personally, click. When he is under the name of Gallister, though, it is said that he is the ruling prince of the second heaven, so he's kind of high up there. It's also said that It is also said that with this name, he is the protector of angels who are ministering from the living creatures that hold the universe up and hold the universe together. At some point, I'm going to kind of go over the living creatures. They are not angels, they're not watchers. They are kind of referenced as an immortal race that coexists with divine entities. They're, like I said, I want to go a little bit deeper into them, but that's going to take some serious research because there is information to be found. It's just a little bit obscure. So, Raziel can help you understand the secrets and mysteries of sacred texts and hidden books. If you are starting a course of study, whether it's normal school or if you're working with things, like occult literature, he's a good angel to kind of give you some guidance and help you understand and comprehend what it is you're reading. There are some of the texts that I have read over the years that without some of the guidance from the angelic guides especially, I would not have been able to comprehend what was being said or understand some of the imagery that was being displayed. And it's not that this stuff is blatantly obscure, but it is purposely written in code so that the common person, and that's not an insult, that's just the way it was, the common person wouldn't stumble across some of this information. When we're talking about the sacred and hidden texts and books, this is information that is held secret for a reason. A lot of this kind of stuff, if you are not a sincere searcher, you would not be able to understand it, because these are not things to be flippantly used. If you were to use them without proper training, without proper understanding, that's when you get into the realm of the cults. You get the realm of those abusive figures, the Jim Jones, the Charles Manson, that level of personality. So these were purposely obscured so those heavy egos wouldn't be able to understand it. So that's the reason that Raziel is a good angel. If you're on a sincere study path, which most people, when they go into this realm, are, he's a good one to help you understand and comprehend why it was hidden and how it was hidden, because those are two separate things. Raziel can help us to be better people because he knows secrets, he understands personalities, and he understands motivations behind why we do what we do. He can assist us in looking beyond the surface level and see the deeper aspects of ourselves and other people. This is not something that is comfortable in any case. Just, especially if you are intuitive or empathic, where your telepathic clairs are starting to pick up, or your empathy is starting to really pick up, especially right now. The world in May of 2024 is shifting drastically. If you're starting to notice those things, understand that being able to pick up on other people's information or start to bury deeper in and root out your own, those are not comfortable. They're very enlightening. They can help you understand who you are. It can help you understand why a person does what they do. But is it comfortable? Absolutely not. So you have to hold a very high level of integrity as this stuff starts to happen, because it can be abused. Don't get me wrong, but you don't want to overstep. He can help us understand and accept our psychic and intuitive abilities. He can train you to a certain extent. In a lot of ways, personally, it's easier and better to have a physical person as well, so you can work with a teacher who's already been there, done that, and help guide you through. Everyone's going to have a little bit different response, but there are certain points along the way that are pretty common amongst everybody. That's why it's usually best to take a course or work with a teacher, Reiki teacher or something along those lines, to help you tap in and understand what it is that you're experiencing. And the reason that Raziel is good to work with in conjunction with that is these are mystery gifts. This is not a common, it's becoming more common, I will say that, but there for a long period of time, it was not a common thing. These fall under his guidance because they were classified as mystery schools. This was mystery knowledge. And as we come out of the concept of the Kali Yuga, which was a very physical, dense cycle of time, and we move into Dwapara, which is more focused on spirit and energy, these abilities are going to go from mystery to mainstream, and we're in that process right now. That's why they're becoming more common, but that's where having Raziel coming in to help you understand what's happening is a huge benefit. This helps us all move forward with confidence in our abilities. Something I think we all could use more of, because healthy confidence, standing where you're at, knowing your worth, knowing your abilities, is a value you can't even put a price tag on. Over the years, personal side note here, I have come to terms with the fact that I have very interesting abilities. If I'm in someone's presence for very long, I can start to pick up on stuff they may not want me to. I don't always talk about that. It's not something that I bring up with them. It's not they're thinking forward and I'm picking it up because it's like on a chalkboard. And you have to learn how to control and keep your mouth shut. There's other times, and this just happened at my day job, where someone asks a question and all of a sudden information just starts pouring out. It's stuff that I've been seeing, watching a pattern starting to form, but I didn't say anything because it wasn't my place. But when they asked, then it opened the door where it's like, okay, this is what I'm seeing, this is what's going on. And it surprises people because there's times we as humans have this bad habit of living completely unconsciously. And there's a lot of times, and this is something that as you tap into your clairs and Raziel's guidance can help you direct this, you'll see a pattern forming and the other person's completely oblivious to it. Other times that you're going to pick up on stuff that is so subtle that it was never physically there. Other times it is so blatantly obvious that you're like, how did you not know this? But people as a whole live unconsciously. This is where Raziel can help you wake up. He can help you tap into that other side. We all have these abilities to a different extent. We have different abilities at different levels. Some people's empathy is going to be up here, but their intuition is like in the toilet. Other people's telepathy is really high, but their empathy is garbage. It's all how it fits for you, and that's where Raziel's energy can help you understand, yeah, you may not have telepathy. Fine. But look at this healing ability that you have. You may not have this ability to see an aura, but you have this ability to hear angels. So you've got these different gradients of the gifts, and that's something that he can help you understand. It's a mystery, and it's a mystery worth coming to terms with and understanding. Over time, you can grow all of them, but you're going to have certain spots where you have strengths. So, back to the main focus. Angel Raziel can guide you in knowing how and when to use your gifts, as I just referenced in that little tidbit. Your gifts are not for everyone. You can help that person. You can help anybody with talents. You can just wear yourself out, pouring to the point where your cup is completely empty and it breaks. Not something you want to do. But if people are not in the right headspace to receive and understand that knowledge, they will push back on you, and it may be in a very hostile way. That's not a personal thing. That's just a nature of the beast type thing. This is where Raziel can help you understand when to offer your services and when to stay silent. As I talked about with my day job, that person was open to the experience. They've had their own journey, and so when the question was asked and I responded, and it kind of was like, whoa, didn't expect that. It's because they were already open to said type of energy. Other people, and I've tested this, And if you're in a comfortable position with your own abilities, you can test it as well, but be careful when you do it because it can backfire. There's been times I've tested it where I will randomly throw something out that I've picked up, not knowing for sure where that person is. Some people are like, huh, I never thought about it that way, completely oblivious to the fact that you literally just intuited that. There's other times where they will get straight up hostile. I didn't ask for you to check in on me. Wasn't trying to. You were projecting that strongly that it was something I could pick up. Well, you need to keep your thoughts to yourselves. I've had those experiences. And now when it happens and they get snippy, I just can laugh at it. Like, then close your mind. I don't need to hear what you're thinking. And it's not like literal thoughts. It's images and impressions. But this is that knowing when to speak and when to stay silent are huge. This knowledge of when to do that can help with others as well, because it helps put them at ease. This is a time of finding balance and peace, and this is where Raziel's energy is really coming in. A lot of people are starting to pop up with these unique clairs to them, and they don't know how to handle it. Some people kind of had that feeling, and then as they've gotten older, they're starting to generate a pattern where they can sense and tell, and they know kind of what's going on. They may not be fully opened to it yet, but they're aware of it. Raziel can help you develop it. That's the beauty. But there's times when you can tell what someone's response is and why they're having that experience, and you get to that point where you're like, you know what? They need to have this experience because it's part of their soul's journey. If they come to me and ask for advice, I can give it, but at this point, I'm going to keep my mouth shut and just watch, because it's not my position, it's not my place to interfere. That takes a lot of self-control and a lot of integrity, but that's something that falls under Raziel's domain as well. Archangel Raziel has been attributed to writing a book, and as far as I have found in so far with my research, he's one of the very few who's ever done so. Not the only one that because there's a couple others that I've seen named, but one of the very few. He wrote down all the secrets of heaven and all the secrets of God. That is pretty powerful when you think about it. This book has legendary, obviously, magical powers. The legends hold that he gave the book to Adam and Eve once they were kicked out of the Garden of Eden. He did this because it was a way to possibly get back into the good graces of God and be returned to Eden. The other angels who found out about this were positively livid, if you could only imagine, and they stole the book, cast it into the sea. But a messenger of God returned it to them. And it's not referenced as who this messenger was. I kind of have an idea that it was one of the Watchers, because they saw everything that happened under the heavens on this planet. And it wouldn't surprise me if they weren't kind of the ones, because the Watchers, we'll go into them later, but they're an interesting group. And the book eventually did fall into the hands of Enoch the prophet. And Enoch is said to have added aspects of that text to his book of Enoch, which is this dude right here. And this has got 3 different sets of books in it. So there's possible aspects of Raziel's book within this one. After Enoch, this book was passed to Enoch's family member, which was actually Noah, and it is said that with this book, it was a guiding point to him building the ark that saved humanity and all the other critters on the planet. The book survived the flood of Noah, and then, according to the legend and the lore, disappeared. No one knows what happened to it. It literally just lay poof. But it pops back up in the time of Solomon, King Solomon, after King David, the Jewish kings, the wisest man to have ever lived, King Solomon. And it is said that part of Solomon's wisdom was this book granted to him by God himself, which puts where the book ended up in a unique place. Because after Noah, did Raziel take his book back? Because it held the secrets of the universe? And then when Solomon came along and Solomon's sole desire was wisdom, did Raziel come down and be like, I got you, fam, here's the book? It's an interesting theory. That's my lore. That's not anything of them, but after it disappeared, where did it go? To me, it makes sense that Raziel took his book back, and then he returned it when the time was right, which was to Solomon. There is some interesting lore around that, and I did find, and I put it in the description, a supposedly full version of the original text. I personally have not read it yet. I want to look into it because I am really curious about this one. It's the Sefer Raziel Hemelach, the Book of Angel Raziel. And if it's like a lot of the other grimoires that I've read over the years, I'm going to say it's probably origins comes from around 13th century in France or Italy. Not a guarantee. As I said, I have not read it yet, but that's on my list of things to read because of the association with Enoch and being written by an angel itself. So it could be kind of interesting. In the other part, just kind of wrap things up here, Raziel is not just condemned to a bunch of musty old books back in the day. He shows up in a very interesting place in modern times. If you've ever read any of Cassandra Clare's books, she added Archangel Raziel into the Shadowhunter Chronicles. And then I was poking around and I couldn't find the names of the video games, but I found random images of it. Apparently he shows up in some older video games, like the PlayStation 2, Xbox originals type thing. That era of video game, that's the images anyway. But he still wanders around, but he's still very mysterious. You don't find a lot of information about him outside of a couple of obscure grimoires and some symbology, which is still fairly popular, which I was surprised by. And in the description below, I've linked some of these seals and symbols. There's even, and I couldn't find out a lot of information without purchasing a stack of literature, but there is apparently a statue of Raziel that is associated with Catholicism. As I said, the only text that I could find, I couldn't find anything online, and I haven't purchased these particular texts yet, so I don't have a good answer for what all of those are. And if I haven't read them, or at least went over the history, I'm not going to recommend them because I don't want to send you down the wrong rabbit holes. So, but some of that information is down below if you are interested. But let me know in the comments down below, is Archangel Raziel something that you've heard of before? I had heard of him sporadically, but again, very mysterious angel. If you've ever worked with him, if you feel comfortable, your thoughts and ideas there. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button, drop a like on the video if you enjoy this type of content, and I will see you guys in the next video. If you have any suggestions for other angels that you would like discussed, or such concepts or ideas, let me know in the comments as well, and I will add those to my list. I will see you guys later.